Hello and welcome. I am Gimba Umar. Tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari visits the Nigeria Defense Academy, commends the military's resolve in the anti-terror war so far. 3 Nigerians injured in the Saudi crane crash. The federal government says that there are no reports of Nigerian deaths so far. The death toll in the Yola bomb blast remains at 7 as the injured continue to receive treatment. And at least 89 people die in an explosion that tore through a restaurant at breakfast in the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh.
And on business news tonight, no need to panic. Asset manager asks foreign and local investors to shun the much-ado about JP Morgan's announcement.
And in sports news, Chelsea manager Jose Mourinho admits confidence is low in camp after the 3-1 loss at Everton.
We begin tonight from Nigeria's northwest, where the president has reaffirmed his administration's total commitment to the rule of law and warns that proven acts of human rights violations by the armed forces will be punished by his leadership. Addressing officers, troops and newly commissioned cadets at the Nigerian Defense Academy NDA in Kaduna State, President Muhammadu Buhari reminded them that the rule of law applies to the armed forces as much as any other institution in the country. Observing the security remains the most important challenge in his administration's change program, President Buhari says that the nation expects exemplary conduct and professionalism from officers and men of its armed forces at all times and in all situations.
A total of 399 cadets of 62 regular corps comprising of the Army, Navy, Air Force and another short service Army Cadet 43 commissioned as military officers. They are graduating after undergoing rigorous training in basic military subjects and outdoor training. One of such trainings is on counter-terrorism. While congratulating the graduating cadets, President Muhammadu Buhari commended the military for the fight against insurgency so far.
Your commitment and loyalty to the armed forces and the nation must be total. You must try to live up to this demand and expectations required of you.
The president is not unaware of the challenges of having an effective military without up-to-date equipment and welfare of personnel.
Successive Nigerian governments have developed our armed forces into one that is well-trained, efficient, and equipped to meet national security challenges. Our government is determined to confront current challenges and long-term plans for the development of the armed forces. The execution of an excellent parade such as the one we have just witnessed requires tremendous hard work, high standard of discipline, rigorous training, and rehearsal. I am proud to note that the Academy has consistently adopted best global practices in both military and academic training of the cadets.
Highlight of the colorful passing out parade was the replacement of the Academy's old regimental colors with new ones, as well as presentation of awards of merit to deserving cadets. Loretta Chiogo, Channels Television News.
Victims of the suicide bomb blast are responding to treatment at the Federal Medical Center in Yola, the Adamawa state capital. Out of 10 that were brought to the hospital, 7 of them with minor injuries are expected to be out of hospital soon.
It is quite a pathetic sight at the Federal Medical Center in Yola, where victims of a suicide bomb blast that occurred at the Macaulay IDP camp are receiving treatment. While majority of them seem to be responding to treatment, a few are still lying in critical conditions. Medical personnel are doing all they can to keep them alive.
We have close to 20 victims that have, most of them with serious injuries. But we have a few, about 5 to 7 of them, who are suffering minor injuries and will likely be discharged today. All of them were resuscitated in the accident emergency, and immediately information got to us, we quickly started preparing a place for them. And different sections of the hospital were engaged from day one before the first victim even arrived to the hospital. And we have drugs supplied by the pharmacy department. The A&E was informed to prepare, and then the staff were mobilized. They all took part in the exercise well.
The Adamawa State Commissioner for Information and officials of the National Emergency Management Agency are among early callers to the hospital.
Our prayer is that we should all get over this situation. This is not something one will wish for himself. Being an IDP is something one does not wish for himself, and then being a victim of a bomb blast in an IDP camp, I think is the worst occurrence that could happen to anybody.
A suicide bomber is believed to have found its way into a group that were recently rescued from Sambisa Forest and admitted into the IDP camp in the early hours of Friday.
Meanwhile, the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, says that he is anguished over the Yola bomb blast. The Senate President condemned in strong terms the blast, saying that inhuman act could only be perpetrated by sadists and evil people now facing imminent defeat. Dr. Bukola Saraki says, "My prayers goes out to the victims of the attack at the largest IDP camp located in Yola. The IDPs in the northeast need our support now more than ever. The insurgents have resorted to cowardly methods because they are being routed by our military." End of quote. He added that troops have demonstrated in no unmistakable terms that they are ready to keep the date with the December ultimatum given by the president to rout Boko Haram out of Nigeria's northeast. Dr. Bukola Saraki also commiserated with Saudi Arabian authorities and the Muslim Ummah over the construction crane that crashed into Mecca's Grand Mosque, the Kaaba, killing at least 107 people, with scores more injured days before the commencement of this year's Hajj. A two-story building under construction has collapsed after a heavy downpour, killing one of those working in the site. According to eyewitness accounts, the uncompleted building design looks like a hostel for students who would have caused a major calamity if it had been completed and habited. Meanwhile, the Imo State government says that the incident will be investigated, while calling on other builders to always put the safety of the people first during construction in the state.
What we have seen, the building, the materials are substandard. Some of them are not meant for, a story building, and these are what are being used here to construct this building. And the neighborhood here are being occupied mainly by students, and you see the kind of risk we would have been running if this building was allowed to reach its completion. So we will look for the builder, and we'll also look for the contractor, and government is going to take appropriate steps to make sure that this matter is properly investigated. From what I'm getting from the sites, I hear that each time the OCD come here for building control, that the residents attack them, that they are indigents. They have seen the result of such attack. When government establishes a regulation body to regulate some of these things and you don't allow them to come in, this is the result you get.
Following the Saudi Arabia crane incident that happened yesterday, the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria has said that 3 people sustained injuries and that they are receiving adequate medical care by the federal medical team in Saudi Arabia. The chairman of the Hajj Commission, Abdullahi Muhammad, says that so far no Nigerian pilgrim has been identified among those that lost their lives.
So far, the information available to us, no Nigerian pilgrim is affected or has been identified among those that lost their life. But still, investigation is going on. Members of the federal medical team and the help desks of the National Hajj Commission are going around all the hospitals and mortuaries where the body of the departed ones has been deposited to ascertain if there is any Nigerian. But so far we have identified 3 people that sustained injury, and they are receiving adequate medical care by the federal medical team in the kingdom. This will certainly not affect the performance of the Hajj for this year, as the government of Saudi Arabia is doing everything possible to ensure the safety and continued comfort of the pilgrims that are moving into the kingdom from all over the world for the performance of the Hajj.
In part 2, after the break, as the president marks his 100 days in office, our series of reports continues with a focus on the education sector. Stay with us.